welcome everyone to 3 Steps to Kayaking. And this is episode 7. We're recording this show. I want to first of all welcome everyone and wish you a happy new year. My name is Hans. I'm a longtime TRAK pilot and outdoor educator, a sea kayaker, and director of development at TRAK Kayaks. And so you joined in today for one of a series of calls. It is a Beyond the Boat series. This particular episode is 3 Steps to Kayaking. It is designed to help you understand the tools required to get into the right gear, skills development to ensure that you're developing solid habits as a paddler, and a progression of sea personship to help you understand the best practices in the dynamic environment of the sea and sea kayaking. So we invite you to eddy out with us here. This is your time, so I invite you to just plug in, stay focused, be engaged with us. And we're going to discuss some of the topics that we love most. And our aim is to support consistent, never-ending improvement. And this particular program also has a sister component called the Keys to Avoiding Deep Trouble. And we'll speak to that a little bit later. So as we let more people into the room here, I want to speak to today's subject. We are going to talk about how to advance your skill set and hack adult learning methods to help you achieve your goals faster. And while this is oriented specifically to sea kayaking, it's transferable to any skill set that you choose to embark upon. So I'm going to start with a couple of housekeeping notes. First of all, everyone is muted on this call with the exception of our guest. Just for a clean recording, I invite you to go to the chat box in your control panel, and there is a great place to engage with us, ask questions, and we're going to open up the mics a little later for all of you to really engage and for us to eddy out in a virtual hangout here as paddlers. Now, what I'd like for you to do right now to let me know you have found that chat button, go ahead and type in there and let me know where you're hailing from right now. Super important. We pride ourselves in certainly this community that comes together from all over the world, and we'd like to know where you're hailing from now. So just type in the chat box, where's your home port? Where are you hailing from at this moment? We got Todd in Atlanta, fantastic. We got Ken from Green Bay, Wisconsin. Larry's from Bellingham, Washington. So far we covered coast to coast. We got Garrett just coming in here. And so on this call, then the format is we're going to keep you muted until we get to the end. We're going to field your questions on the chat, and you may be asked to raise your hand a couple of times, so you could find the raise your hand button. Also in the bar, you can also find the reactions. If anything resonates with you, we'd love to get a thumbs up or an applause just to let us know that what we're commenting on is really resonating with you. And so my promise to you is we're going to share with you as much as we can in this short time. And at the end, we're going to point you in the right direction to discover more about what we're talking about. Fair enough? Terrific. So let me start with a couple of acknowledgements. First of all, I want to acknowledge everyone on this call. I want to thank you for taking the time out to eddy out with us and contribute to this conversation. I want to certainly recognize other TRAK pilots that are on this call and that also help support our community. And for those folks that are on these calls that have participated in some of our experiences and camps and tours, thanks for continuing to come out. And also want to acknowledge Curtis Heron. He's in the background here and work in the chat room as well as the administrative side of things. So big collective effort here to bring this to you. I'm proud to introduce right now our guest today, Cole Wilde. Cole is a level 3 TRAK pilot and coach. He's a certified Paddle Canada level 2 instructor, and he's a founder of a fantabulous organization called We Thrive Outdoors. And so welcome to the Cole.
Thank you, Hans. And I really appreciate that welcome. You know, I remember just like 5 years ago, I was so far from being where I am right now. And I'm just so grateful to be here and to be working with TRAK and, you know, really empowering people to get out there and live their best lives. So I'm just so humble and so grateful. So yeah.
Cole, let me ask you, what originally drew you into kayaking? And then maybe subsequently, what drew you into TRAK?
You know, that's a funny story. I, like you, Hans, I grew up here on Vancouver Island and had the ocean all around me, grew up fishing, spending lots of time on the water. But it was really the first time that I was traveling through Europe, and I was in Dubrovnik, Croatia, when I had the opportunity to rent a kayak. I had never kayaked before. And so I actually lied through my teeth to this rental company about my experience. I told them I had kayaked all around Vancouver Island, and they said, wow, that sounds amazing. Totally, we'll give you a boat. Here's your spray skirt. Here's everything. And I looked at the spray skirt, and I'm like, what is this thing? And they looked at me like, are you what? I'm like, oh yeah, no, it's all good. So anyway, I went out kayaking for 1 week all around the islands, connecting with the little communities that were set up on the islands, going for breakfast, meeting new people. And it was really that opportunity to connect with culture and connect with the environment in a meaningful way and connect with my body. And I thought, this is really cool. And yeah, 5 years later, I got connected to the adventure tourism program, and things kind of just went from there.
Okay, great. It sounds like a very accelerated learning progression for you.
It has been.
Good. You've already positioned yourself as an authority in being able to speak to how to hack our adult learning methodologies. Fantastic. So let me ask you, Cole, where are you in the world right now?
Right now, I am in one of the most beautiful places in the world, Vancouver Island, British Columbia, Canada, on our beautiful earth that I so love and appreciate.
So let's dive a little bit in. I want to learn kind of what's on the horizon for you in terms of kayak trips. What do you see as in the lineup? What are your next trips?
Yeah, I mean, there are real restrictions that exist in the world today. However, expeditions to the south coast, the north coast, I should say, of Sicily. There's the Aeolian Islands, some beautiful volcanic islands that I want to go and explore. And I want to make more trips down into Tierra del Fuego in the Chilean and Argentinian Patagonia. I'd like to revisit the Rio Santa Cruz River and explore more riverways and more waterways. So really, I want to explore it all.
It's simply said. So Cole, just a little bit more background on you. I will share that you mentioned the Rio Santa Cruz. I think that's significant for TRAK. I know when we came out with the TRAK 2.0, you actually were one of the TRAK pilots, one of the first ones to field test it on an extended expedition in South America, in a remote region of Patagonia. And I want to just include, for folks that want to learn a little bit more about that, I know that you create a blog post that outlines specifically that trip. It's on our website. I just put a link in the chat room to Swan Song of the Santa Cruz that outlines a trip between TRAK pilot Cole and another TRAK pilot, Zach, who you have also seen on this program. And so the other, Cole, you also participate with us as a level 3 pilot. You're a guide and educator. And most recently, we ran a surf camp on the wild, wet west coast of Vancouver Island in Tofino. Ken Poole was part of that. And so you've also worked with us regionally on Vancouver Island around some of the Gulf Islands, like a Lasqueti Island trip as well. So you're really active with teaching and coaching and training sea kayaking specifically in the TRAK community and helping maintain some of that culture. So I want to thank you for that. Now, we're here to talk about learning here. Cole, I want to ask you a question. What's the challenge with learning a new skill set like sea kayaking?
The challenge is, people become overwhelmed with the amount of decisions that can be made around what type of gear they need. And then when it actually comes to getting out on the water, people will often feel doubt in the lack of knowledge that they have, or they will feel overconfident in the knowledge that they think they have. So either situation that you fall into, you either are unable to get on the water, or you do get on the water and you can get yourself into trouble.
Okay.
So
yeah. So
the challenge. Yeah.
So it sounds like the challenge is hard to know where to start. It can be intensive, both in gear and a dynamic medium. It can be intimidating, which can lead to self-doubt, and it can lead to limiting ourselves or sometimes getting in trouble on the water. Did I get that right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what do you see as the real opportunity with being able to kind of circumvent those challenges?
So identifying exactly where you are, what your goals are, and then identifying what the challenges are that you need to overcome or work around to be able to achieve those goals. So it's really specific to each person.
Okay.
Framework that you can follow, having a proven model.
A proven model. Okay, so it sounds like the opportunity here is to really get some guidance on the equipment and progression. I know that Sea Kayaking offers a really generous community of paddlers that share in that. I know I grew up in an apprentice style program like that. We know that seapersonship is a lifelong discipline that's really practiced in small parts as needed. I see that as an opportunity. But one of the things that we talked about last call was the confidence cycle, and that with successes, confidence and competence can accelerate quickly to open up more areas and more challenging conditions, and the rewards of being able to safely exercise your spirit of adventure are huge.
Absolutely. And
yeah,
something I'd like to speak about too, you said that learning seapersonship is a lifelong skill. This is something that can also be learned in bite-sized chunks. This can be learned through just easy activities. So it's not something that you need to learn overnight to be able to go out and kayak.
Yeah, got it. Awesome. So it sounds like the big idea here is that it's all learnable.
It's all learnable.
Cool. I want to start with a quick poll here, and just get a sense from this audience that we're speaking with. Where are we on those continuums? What is your level of competency? And I'm going to start with a poll on this right now, and if I can bring it up. Let's just see kind of a scope. This is completely private. It's just anonymous here, but we'd love to get a sense of how do you assess your sea kayaking level of competency for folks that are on this call? Just a little check for us. It starts as, with wondering what we're talking about with sea kayaking, all the way to Jedi mastery. We'll leave this open for just about another 15 seconds here, looking for 100% participation on this. So anybody on the call should be able to access that. And it's fantastic. Good. Awesome. All right, well, I'm going to bring this to a close here with 80%. And that should give us a good indication. Cole, so I'm going to share these results. So the audience we're really speaking to here, it looks like we're largely intermediate paddlers, and advanced and expert and professional that's our baseline. So I think we can really channel this conversation in a way that kind of really helps those that are intermediate paddlers to advance more quickly, and those that are advanced and expert and professional to look at it from the lens of, how can I help facilitate learning of my students or peers on the water, and developing the broader community. So I'm gonna stop sharing that. Thank you for your participation in that poll. So let me ask you, how do we hack our adult learning to accelerate our progression?
Absolutely. So yeah, to unpack that, it really comes from 3 awarenesses. You need to understand where you are, what your competency is, and really what stage of learning you're at. Are you a beginner, intermediate, or advanced? The next thing that's really important is to get familiar with just what your best learning style is, because we all learn in different ways, right? Some of us we learn from doing things. Some of us, we learn from seeing things or hearing things or reading and writing, right? So knowing your learning style. And then lastly is getting the right type of support for your need where you're at in that time.
Okay, terrific. That's fantastic. That's very succinct. And so it sounds like largely the first part of really hacking our adult learning is, starting with some real awarenesses. And so you just mentioned something really interesting. You'd mentioned understanding your level of competency. And I'd love just to direct people to the 3 steps to kayaking we did last with TRAK pilot Zach Cruzens, who spoke to winter paddling preparations, but he really addressed something that was kind of really specific to, I think, what you're talking about. And I'm going to put a link in here to those past episodes so folks can go back and take a look at that Zach Cruzen's episode if you missed it. And we really unpacked this, this idea of stages of learning. And I'm not going to go into detail on that in this particular call, but I just want to bring to your attention that model that is being referenced here by Cole on the concept of going from being really incompetent and unaware about it progressively into becoming more aware of that incompetence as you move into more competence that you at some point can get to the point of complacency. I'm not going to go into more detail than that about it. I invite you to go check out the Zach Cruzen's episode. Okay, so given that, Cole, the next thing you said was really getting familiar with how you best learn from a learning styles perspective. So before we unpack that idea of learning styles, I'd love to also get a show of hands from people who are familiar with models of learning styles and know what their preference of learning style is. So you could go to the, you could be able to raise your hand there, the little blue hand you should be able to see in your raise hands, or just hit a reaction. Cool. All right. So a couple of folks are familiar with this. And let me ask you this before we dive into this, Cole. For reference, we're talking about awareness of learning styles. How's it really helped you become a better learner?
Well, through identifying my own learning style, which is a kinesthetic learner, I have been able to more effectively communicate with the trainers and mentors and coaches that I've had within the discipline of kayaking. And by clearly communicating that with my teacher, they're able to reframe what they're trying to teach so that I can be best positioned to learn. Basically,
great.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so you go into this relationship with real clear communication of articulating, here's how I learn. Let's cater to this. Okay. And how's it helped you be a better coach? That awareness.
Absolutely. Well, through being able to recognize where I am and communicate effectively and realize that in my own learning, that's the best way for me to accelerate my learning. That's led me to understanding as a coach that if I can clearly understand what the best way is for my student to learn, I can then take my knowledge, my lesson, and reframe it in a way that is going to allow them to learn their best way.
Terrific. Fantastic. So let's unpack these learning styles. And I want to turn this over to you to do, Cole, here. But one of the things that I do wanted to credit here is that I think this discussion, what you're referencing, is often called the VARC model. It's used to describe different modalities of student learning, originally described in the early 90s by a study by Neil Fleming and Cole Mills. And so this is a research-based model that was identified from 1,000 hours of classroom observation. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Cole, to go ahead and unpack this a little bit, and I'll give us a visual aid for folks as we progress.
Absolutely. I would love to do that, Hans. Yeah, let me know when you're ready.
Go ahead.
Great. So to make it practical and relevant to sea kayaking, what I'll do is I'll give it some context to kayaking. Okay. So if I'm coaching somebody, and what I'm going to do if I've got a visual learner is I'm going to demonstrate. Okay, everybody, I got your attention. I'm going to make a demonstration of a self-rescue. Okay, I'm going to perform that self-rescue so that everybody can see me. Right? Now, while I'm doing that demonstration, I can also use my voice. I can use my voice for the auditorial learners because they're going to benefit from that greatly. So while I'm going through the motions of the self-rescue, I'm explaining all of the body mechanics, what every part of my body is doing, what forces I'm putting onto the boat, how I'm balancing the boat, and everything. So I've got those two learners. And then the kinesthetic learner, what I would do is I would actually be right there with them while they're doing it. I would help move their body and position their body on the kayak in a way that's really going to help them grasp what they need to do. If that's
Perfect, Cole. So you identified that we're basically dealing with three different learning styles here. You've identified a visual learner, an auditory learner, and a kinesthetic learner. Let's back up a little bit now that folks have a little bit of kind of a context for that. Let's just I want to understand a little bit more what a visual learner is. What are the strengths of a visual learner, and how do we connect with a visual learner?
Absolutely. So, we can do demonstrations. Like I said, we can provide pictures, diagrams, illustrations. I could do an illustration on a whiteboard can be powerful for a visual learner.
So, okay. So it sounds like visual learners are really good with kind of spatial thinking and kind of recalling images in their minds. In my experience, visual learners can really be really detail oriented as well, because they can notice really small changes in their surroundings. And in my experience in kayaking, also those visual learners tend to be really well balanced and have great alignment because of that acuity, if you will, to the surroundings. That's fantastic. So now let's talk about the auditory learner. Tell me about that one.
Auditory learning?
Yeah.
So somebody who's going to really be able to listen to very clear instruction and then to be able to just execute on what they're hearing.
Okay. Great. So it sounds like really being able to retain knowledge best through hearing that rather than seeing it, in simple terms.
Absolutely.
Okay. And so what are some of the strengths that in your experience an auditory learner has?
They're able to clearly, it's one of the most effective ways for somebody to retain the information that I'm trying to share. I can break it down and structure it word by word. And I find when people, maybe aren't necessarily able to listen to the direction the best, it can be difficult. But with auditorial learners, they can do very well just with the comprehension.
Okay, terrific. And obviously the way to connect with those learners would be really through language.
Correct.
Yeah. Now let's move on to the third one you mentioned is kinesthetic learning. Unpack that one for me a little bit.
Absolutely. So kinesthetic learners are people who really learn by doing. And that's something that I really connect with. And so for me, I struggle to just watch somebody do a demonstration or explain to me how to do something or how to read. I really need to have the paddle in my hands. I really need to be the person doing it. And so that just comes from giving people exercises, giving people activities to go and do themselves.
Cool. So and did you mention this is your particular go-to style?
This is my go-to, but I benefit from all of them. Okay,
great. And what do you find as a kinesthetic learner? What are your strengths? How do you hack that or make sure that you're getting what you need in that learning style?
I need instant feedback.
Okay.
And so when I am performing, I can think back to when I was learning, I would be performing the skills, trying to connect with my body and trying to work on the skills. And so when I can get direct feedback from a trainer or from a coach on the water, then I can take that and I can perform it. And even sometimes I'll have a trainer come by and reposition my body in some way if I need, and I find that helps a lot.
Okay, terrific. Yeah, so that's sounds like you have a good awareness about that, and you're really able to articulate to your coaches exactly what you need.
Yes.
Okay. Now, there's a fourth element here that's mentioned, and this might be a little more outside of not as commonly considered in outdoor education. But do you want to speak to the verbal elements?
Absolutely. So, this is, in my experience as a coach, this is a learning style that I've come across less frequently, but I have learned to work with even people of this learning style. In particular, I can think of, one participant we had on the Lasqueti Island trip, Victor Chabot. And he was really he's a very analytical person. He's an engineer. And so reading and writing was something that he really benefited from. And so what we did was we basically had like kind of quizzes, and I asked him like questions about the boat and different things.
Great. Awesome. Fantastic. I got a comment here from Rebecca. She said it's really useful and learning styles can be varied based on what someone is learning. For example, it might be a visual learner with a small motor skill or task, but it might be a kinesthetic learner with larger motor skills or tasks. How would you speak to that, Cole?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, Rebecca's coming on and she's suggesting that, individuals can have different go-to or preferential learning styles based on what they're actually learning, what they're actually doing. And the example that she gave was that someone might be a visual learner with like small motor skill stuff, but then really kinesthetic with larger motor skill things like rolling a kayak, for example.
Absolutely. That's a great question. And so, while I believe that many of us, we feel that we have a dominant learning style. However, we'll always benefit from a blended learning style. So we'll always benefit from having more learning styles, and really having a multimodal learning style where you can bring all of them in together is always going to be the best. So it does really depend on what the activity it is, whether it's something small you're doing with your hands or whether it's kayaking. It's always going to be different. But the more approaches you can take, the more learning styles you can hit, the more effective the learning is going to be.
That's terrific. And Larry Brown also mimics that as well. He's suggesting that, modes must be mixed as well. It's fantastic. Okay. So one of the things that, I learned for actually working with Victor too, it's great you mentioned he's a verbal learner, that he was able to pick up a lot of information really quickly. It was super impressive.
His learning was insane. From Lasqueti to the surf camp, I was blown away.
Yeah. So what I'd love to do right now is I'd like to do another quick poll here and just get a sense from people, how would you identify your primary learning style? So I'm going to bring this up here, and I just want to get a sense of, from what we just unpacked here, how would folks in this call identify what their primary learning style is? Love to hear from all folks on this one.
I actually forgot to vote on the last one, so one of those was missed from me.
Great. Okay. Fantastic. All right. We're at 70%. Other folks consider what they think about that. Good. Okay. So I'm going to end this poll now. And I just wanted us to take a look at these results, and want to share with folks a little bit of commonly understood research suggests that that visual learners basically constitute about 65% of the population, according to social science research, and that auditory learners make up about 30% of that. And so, interestingly, kinesthetic learners reportedly only make up about 5% of the population. And in this particular audience, kayakers, outdoor educators, outdoor recreationalists, enthusiasts are kind of blow that out of the water and are largely kinesthetic learners. Really fantastic. Great reflection. I think that would, how helpful is that for you, Cole, as a coach and an educator?
Very. Yeah, it's understanding what people's learning styles are is the most important thing for me to know going into a lesson with somebody.
Yeah.
Because it allows me to frame what I'm going to teach.
So, Rebecca's brought this up, and I think Larry mimicked this as well, and you've mentioned it. What about multimodalities or blended learning approach?
It's the best way. I mean, I'm a kinesthetic learner, but I have eyes and I have ears, and I You know, even reading and writing, like doing tests or exams can be, or reviewing exams with a group can be very beneficial. So the more learning styles that you can hit, the faster the learning is going to be. 100%.
Cool. Yeah, I like Rebecca's comment on this too, because I think what also comes into here is that some individuals don't really have a standout mode with where one preference is above all others. And those are often defined as multimodal learners. Like maybe Rebecca is, where specifically for the task or the skill, she might apply different learning modalities. Really great to build your awareness about that so that you can really hack your learning style based on what you're doing. Rebecca's got a really refined sense of that. I'd love to just unmute Rebecca and see if I may, and sort of unpack this a little bit with her. Sounds like she's got a really heightened sense of awareness. Rebecca, I've made the request to unmute. If you don't have too much background noise, we'd love to hear from you. And what are your strategies for building, your attunement or awareness about your behavioral or your learning style, and how to use it accordingly?
Well, actually, I can use TRAK as a good example. So putting together the kayak, there I'm I guess it's auditory learner, where having a YouTube video that I can watch again and again and again, or back up and say, oh, I'm doing this. I'm doing singles, but I have my video off. Putting things together, I can repeat the task until I get it. Whereas if I'm doing something, whether it's in a kayak or on a pair of skis, or even sometimes in my computer, I actually have to do it physically. Like it's like a hand to brain activity with me, as opposed to a visual to brain.
Terrific. Thank you so much for that, Rebecca. Yeah, really, really great example. And for you developing that awareness, like what were some of the tactics or strategies that you used to sort of, bring that to awareness for yourself?
I'm still talking. Well, I actually teach. So
okay. Well, yeah.
I manage people, but I also taught skiing. And so I kind of learned a lot about this when teaching people how to ski.
Perfect. Yeah. So you're professionally trained, simply put. Excellent. Good. Well, thank you for that, Rebecca. Appreciate it. So, what I love about outdoor education is that it brings in that blended learning approach. It uses all of those styles. Experiential education allows students of all learning styles to succeed because of that. And that's one of the things that I love about teaching kayaking or coaching kayaking, is being able to play with that. There are no hard, fast boundaries. And, the more blended learning approach we can use, the better. So, okay, Cole, you mentioned 3 awarenesses or elements to hacking learning style. The first one was understanding your level of competency, getting clear on that, knowing your starting point. The other one was getting familiar how you best learn from a learning styles perspective. And then the other thing you said was getting the right type of support. What do you mean by getting the right type of support?
I think it really comes down to identifying, where you are currently at in your situation, and identifying what type of support you need to go forward. And so different types of support could be a trainer or a mentor or a coach. And so I'll break those down all specifically. So, coach is somebody who really is going to work with you in the short term. They're going to figure out where you are, where you want to get to, and what the roadblocks are that are get in your way, and give you some action items. A mentor is somebody who's really going to be there with you for a long period of time, and they're going to help you make decisions, and they're going to be there kind of through a longer journey, right? And so a trainer could be somebody who works with you for a shorter amount of time or a longer amount of time, but they're really there with you through every step, right? They're working with you all throughout your journey, not just at the beginning or at the end.
I get it. Okay, great. Well, I'd love to hear from people. How helpful is that to make those very simple distinctions between teaching, coaching, and mentorship? Love to hear it in the chat room. And if you have any specific experiences you'd like to raise your hand and speak to those, we'd love to know what works best for you in different situations. And it sounds like you've really focused on this idea of where the emphasis is, what the time horizon is for it. What can you tell me about the skills requirements for a facilitator in these three areas, Cole? What are we looking for when we're trying to find a trainer versus a mentor versus a coach?
That's a good question. You're looking for an expert in the field, somebody who's already done it before, somebody who already has experience with coaching or with mentoring or with training. And so, specifically to the coach, you're looking for somebody who can really help you identify your goals, where you want to go to, and somebody who's going to be able to identify kind of maybe the beliefs that you might have about yourself or about the sport that may be limiting you from going forward. Those would be important things to look for in a coach. As far as a mentor goes, you're looking for somebody who, again, is going to be an expert in the field, who has your best interest in mind and is going to help you with those decisions. And with a trainer, again, you're going to need an expert in the field and somebody who's committed to your success.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So the training is kind of really specifically focused with a very formal structure, whereas the other two are a little more loose. Yeah. Okay. Great. So we've covered a couple of things here. We've understood the levels of competency as a baseline. We're getting familiar with how people learn from different learning styles perspective. And we've talked about getting the right type of support to hack your learning in terms of really advancing yourself as a kayaker. How does this inform your coaching philosophy?
Well, not everybody is at the same point than everybody else. So not everybody needs a coach. Some people just need to get together with a trainer. If you are looking to get a role, if I can't coach you on a role, you need to work with a trainer. You need to work with somebody one-on-one to get a role. If you're really looking for accountability, then you're really going to want to have a mentor, somebody who's going to be there for you throughout the whole journey, keep you accountable, and make sure you're staying on track and keeping that North Star in the horizon. And if you're somebody who you've got the confidence and you can do it, but you just need a proven game plan, then working with a coach will really help you identify where you are, where you want to get to, and what's holding you back. And so depending on where you are, you're going to want to work with one of those. And
so let me ask you then specifically about your coaching and skills progression philosophy. If you can kind of break it down into a few steps, how do you approach it typically? Taking into account people's learning style and where they might be on a competency level and their awareness around that.
My approach as a coach?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, it all starts out with getting real and getting to know who you are and what your current situation is. Okay. What do you really want to achieve? What do you want to get out of the sport of sea kayaking? Are you looking to get your health and vitality back? Are you looking to go on some adventures? Are you looking for a more balanced lifestyle? Identifying really why you want what you want. And then from there, identifying, what are the roadblocks? What are the things that are holding you back from getting to where you want? Okay. Is it that you don't have a paddling partner? Is it that you lack the confidence? Is that you lack the sea personship? Maybe it's you have you believe that kayaking is dangerous and you have a real fear. So, it's identifying the broken beliefs and helping people repair those beliefs, giving people frameworks for effective decision-making so they can be safe on the water. It's, helping people tap into the resources where they can find a paddling partner or find safe places to paddle. And once we break down all those barriers, we just shoot people off to where they want to go. And so that's it.
I see. So it sounds like, one of the key things that you're talking about is getting real clear on what they're looking to accomplish and what are the objectives. And it sounds like, so we as participants, we as learners can take responsibility for that and lead the conversation by really being clear for ourselves what specifically we're looking to accomplish in a way that's really measurable and specific.
Absolutely.
And it sounds like the next big piece you mentioned is that how important an accurate assessment is, both real and perceived. Because I know that we started this conversation of like, okay, where are you in your kayaking skills? It's easy to check a box like we do when we rent a set of skis, but there's a level of perception around that is different from somebody else. And so getting an alignment with your coach around, what actually is the accuracy of that assessment? How do we go and test that is super critical. So inviting a 360, if you will, from other people to broaden your own self-awareness is critical in terms of hacking your learning, in addition to being clear about where you want. So now you've got a super clear gap of where we are now and where we want to go. And then it sounds what you're saying is that the next step for you, you're saying like send people off. It sounds like what you're doing is you're really being specific about understanding what are the options that exist for being able to close that gap, and exploring those so that you can make situationally appropriate choices to provide a detailed path or progression for those folks.
Absolutely.
Okay, so for us as learners, the way we can hack this then is to come in with clarity about our own behavioral, our own learning style, be honest and clear about our own level of competency in any kind of given area, invite assessment, and really dig into those two ends of the continuum between where we are now and where we want to go. And then be open-minded to lots of opportunities about where it could go. And for me taking responsibility for that, I'm going to want to, come to the table with ideas, but I'm also going to want to get suggestions from my mentor or coach or trainer on those areas. What's the next big step?
Next big step.
So you got this worked out. You got your coaching philosophy applied. When we're hacking kind of our learning style, what's another big key of your philosophy around coaching?
A big key to my philosophy?
Yeah. You talked about sending people off. What happens next?
You mean like around like identifying competencies and gaps?
Yeah, I guess what I'm speaking to is the commitment part, right? As the commitment to those goals, commitment to those actions. There are things that are specific and measurable, and identifying obstacles that came up in the process. You spoke to that earlier as well.
Right. Yeah.
Cool.
Once you go through this process with your coach or with your mentor or your trainer, and you can identify the gap where you are, where you want to go, and the roadblocks, it comes down to a hard commitment with yourself. Yeah. To sticking to that process and being open-minded to receiving feedback from your coach, your mentor, your trainer, and learning is a lifelong journey. Fantastic.
Cool. Well, thank you for this. This is great. I'd like to just ask you then, kind of specifically, then what are the best practices that you might suggest for us that want to hack our learning?
Yeah. So best practices really are understanding your competency, where you're at, not where you think you're at, where you're really at, and then identifying where you really want to go. Okay, what's your real goal with kayaking, and what are the okay, we got where you really want to go, and how you're going to learn best, right? So not everybody learns the same. We all learn in different ways. Some of us learn from all the different learning styles. So getting really specific on what the best way is that you're going to learn and be able to accelerate your learning so that you can communicate that effectively to your coach, your trainer, your mentor. And then understanding where you are and what specific support you need to be able to take yourself to the next level, whether that's a coach or a trainer or a mentor.
Okay, terrific. I'd love to open this up for questions. I think Rebecca was looking for kind of a slide. I think Curtis, you provided that for her. So we're all set there. Any other questions or thoughts on this topic for Cole? I invite you to unmute and tell your personal story about this, or any other hacks that you have around how to leverage or your adult learning methodology to achieve your goals faster.
See, Stuart's got a question.
Oh yeah, as we start off being unconsciously incompetent, how do we honestly assess our skill level and competence? Do we even know what level of skill is possible? You know, it's fantastic, Stuart. You're so right. You know, that's one of the reasons often where training is super valuable. Because it can start to lay some foundational pieces. Having a coach as well in those early stage elements can help provide that 360 view for you. Most importantly, I think, if I could answer this one, Cole, is that you know, the way that we can honestly assess it is to be conservative in the beginning, so that you don't risk getting hurt, because your poor experiences are going to be your best teacher of where your incompetencies are. So we need to bring those to consciousness by having relatively controlled and safe exposures that allow us to feel that out. And Cole had mentioned earlier in the call about this, you know, dynamic environment, which is the sea. There's a whole element of seamanship that is it's a hard skill and soft skill that takes a little bit longer to learn than a stroke or getting into your boat. And that without that information or awareness of incompetency there, then you can really get in trouble fast. For me, as a paddler, when I learned to paddle, I'm afraid to tell you how many years ago it was, but let's measure it in the order of magnitude of decades. Then it was very common in the industry that you go under somebody's wing. There was an apprentice program. You know, boats weren't as readily available. Usually would you know, work with somebody who has a boat. You'd be paddling with somebody who was showing you the ropes. These days, it's often much different. Boats are readily available. You can rent them everywhere. You can buy them at Costco for $300, and you can go out and you can die really fast. The accessibility for getting yourself in trouble is a lot greater, and the culture in the industry and the sports no longer is grounded in that sort of apprenticeship model anymore. That's certainly one of the things that TRAK has been bringing back through our camps and tours and our pilot program, and the community, creating a community like this that allows us to bring those awarenesses up. And Larry Brown's adding to Stuart's questions, you know, how does reliability find a knowledgeable person to help self-assessment and further? You know, Brad's got a great point. You can go to reputable places. You can go to the ACA. You can go to places that have certified instructors. You know, we at TRAK, you know, we put together to support your journey in taking steps to developing as a sea kayaker. TRAK has created a relatively timely and relevant format for helping people progress as paddlers. You know, we started a program like this, I think it was, when was it, Cole? Last summer?
2 years ago, I think it started.
A skills accelerator program. Yeah, that's right. I think it was last summer. And so this, you know, this is something we have as a product right now, which is a one-on-one Sea Kayak Skills Accelerator program that's private one-on-ones that are virtual, that you can stop in and, you know, get a reliable and knowledgeable person to help you with self-assessment and knowing what the next steps are. In fact, maybe I'll just put a link to that in the chat room to answer that question for Larry. So this is one way, is you certainly can come to TRAK and work with folks that are in the pilot program. The ACA is a good place. Not necessarily all guide services are, but I think really when you're looking for a coach or a trainer or a mentor, looking at what those credentials are, looking at their experience, identifying how aware are they of things like learning styles? How aware are they of things like stages of learning? And then are they asking the right questions in terms of an accurate assessment? How are they challenging you on your own self-assessment? How much do they need to see that for themselves? Are some critical tips. Any other ideas you'd offer, Cole, in terms of evaluating a coach or a mentor or a trainer that is going to provide an accurate assessment?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel, and this isn't pointed toward any particular coach or mentor or trainer, but I think in general, sometimes we can get caught, trainers, all of us, all educators, we can get caught up in our own style of teaching. Because while we all have a learning style, we all have a teaching style that we prefer and we excel in. And so I think, what really separates the good from the great is the ability to change your teaching style for whatever learner you have. And so, it's that early assessment with a student or a paddler and getting really, really crystal clear on like where they're at, where they're really at, where they really, really want to go. And it's when you can get that crystal clear assessment and really figure out what is holding the person back, and sometimes it's things that a regular mentor or trainer or coach just wouldn't go. Maybe you have something going on at family, or you have a family member who doesn't support what you want to do. Like sometimes those are the things that hold people back. And so you need somebody who's going to get honest and clear with you to set that real goal that's really going to help you to get to where you want to go. So crystal clear assessment.
Awesome, Cole. This has been super helpful. The link that I put in actually is a link to your version of the Skills Accelerator program. So if you're looking for someone to help with this, if you're looking for a coach or a mentor, this is a fully customized program that's tailored to suit your needs in a virtual context. And we had really great success with this fall in a group format. The one-on-one is more of a premium offering for sure. And but that's one way that you could do it from a knowledgeable source here. So in recap, Cole, I just want to understand that really our best practices that you might suggest is knowing where you are in the stages of learning, developing your awareness of your learning style, where you're strong, what's your go-to, what's less developed, what's less comfortable, and then seeking a multimodality approach to that, and then finding the right support, whether it's a coach or a mentor or a trainer. It can be critical to really accelerating that growth.
It is critical. Yeah.
Any closing comments that you would add to this? And I'm going to put the link besides that link I just put in around the one-on-one Skills Accelerator. There is a link on that page where people can book into your calendar if they want to talk to you about it. Or get more information on this topic. Do you mind if I put your email address in the box as well, Cole?
Yeah, sure. You can send them to Cole Wilde 27@gmail.com. And I do have a Calendly link as well. For anybody who wants to have an assessment and just have a call with me, can figure out kind of where you are and what not, kind of get really clear on where you are, where you want to go, what's really holding you back, identify what those what you want to accomplish. And so, yeah, feel free if anybody wants to book a 15-minute call with me.
Okay, great. Fantastic. That's very generous. Thank you, Cole. I appreciate that. I'm going to look for that link and see if I can put that in the chat room. Okay. Yeah, I got a link here. I can send people to Cole Wilde. Okay, great. Awesome. Thanks, Cole. I'd like to open this up now for questions or hangout. It sounds like in closing, we just have to first build awareness on how we best learn and then apply that to skills development in simple terms. A couple of announcements that I'll make as we're doing this. We do have the Keys to Avoiding Deep Trouble. That's our sister program to this. It's a little more intermediate and advanced oriented content. I'm going to put that into the chat. Keys to Avoiding Deep Trouble. That is the third Friday of every month. And also want to put in here a link for folks, if you haven't seen this yet and you're looking to hack your learning, really getting into a multimedia context, using other modalities, is the TRAK Foundations program. It's totally free. You can sign up for that. And we've broken, Cole actually is the model in many of these, but we've broken down fundamental skills into single elements that are easy to develop mastery on one at a time, and then put together as you move toward building your competency into more advanced paddling skill sets. Yeah, I think that's all I got. Any additions, Curtis or Cole?
Just super humble and super grateful to be here and be chatting with all you guys. I think it's awesome that you're here for yourselves. I believe that there's a better version of ourselves out there, and it can be found on the water. And so it's my life's purpose to help you do that, help everybody do that. The water has been so impactful for me in my life, and there's nothing that I want more to be able to give back.
Really, really fantastic. Well, Cole, I want to thank you for your commitment to TRAK as a TRAK pilot. I want to thank you for your commitment to the work you do in the world, helping people and advance their skills and develop their relationships with water, and for your time today on this particular call. I certainly would like to acknowledge and thank you, Curtis, for your work on the background there at TRAK HQ. Thanks for helping out with that. And most importantly, I want to thank all of you for showing up here with your precious time and participating in this community. And at this point, if this seemed valuable for you, I'd just like to get a big thumbs up. Help us understand if this is the type of content that is enriching for you as a paddler, and that this format of hanging out in this virtual space is something that works for you. Do let us know that. So at this point, I want to wish everyone a really great weekend.